All right, hello. Welcome to AFM's virtual weekly training. We're just so happy that you guys can all join us this week for our free training. This is going to be recorded and then later posted to YouTube for any future viewing. And we will also be sending out certificates of attendance today for anyone who attends 70% or more of our live training. Sadly, later YouTube viewings do not count for certificates of attendance. But after training today, we are going to be hosting some tea time with our fire safety advocate, Jose. And that's just going to be a time that I welcome you guys all to stay for a little bit and talk about fire safety and fire service and just any questions that you guys might have. So please feel free to mute yourselves right now, but also feel free to unmute during the training at any time if you guys have questions. But I'm just going to hand it over to Jose right now, and he's going to have a few words of encouragement for you guys.
Super. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much, Leah. My name is Firefighter Jose, and I work with Africa Fire Mission as the fire safety advocate. So I'm so excited to have you guys log in, and we appreciate your awesome time. So today I was just thinking, what do I encourage us about? And a thought just came in my mind, because most of the time after a fire, should I say a nasty fire, everybody gets into the fire truck and and people just get silent, you know, and the operator is there driving, and people's thoughts in your head are wondering, wow, that was really a crazy fire. And you get into the firehouse and you're really stressed out. I'd really want us to encourage all of us in the firehouse, even as firefighters. I know in the outside, we get to be so tough, look so tough and in control. But when you get to have a bad call, I would really encourage us to get out there, and you can call your buddy, or even you can call your accountability partner and tell them, hey, you know what? Today's fire has really been bad and I'm not myself anymore. You know, talk about it, talk about it. Make sure that you let out and tell your accountability partner if you have. If you don't, you can just seek help from your duty officer. Tell him, hey, you know what? Today's fire has been bad. I'm feeling really out of shape and I would really want to have some help. You know, if you don't talk about it, you are piling up those crazy and bad thoughts, and they might later on come back to you, and you might enter into bad vices in search of a solution, alcoholism. You might go bad to your family, shouting at your wife, shouting at your husband, you know. So I'd really encourage us to avoid to enter into the other level of being violent and things like that. Speak about how your situation, and from there, you get help. That's the encouragement of the day. And would encourage you to reach out even to us at AFM. We're really available, and we promise to keep what you share with us discreet. Thank you very much. Back to you, Leah, as you take over the program.
Thank you, Jose. And thank you for your word of encouragement. Mental health is so important. And so I just really appreciate you having the time just to open up and chat about that a little bit with us today. It is just so important to talk about. But I want to welcome Krista Nielsen to everyone here today. She's going to be talking and teaching us a little bit more about firefighter safety. And so I just welcome you to the stage, Krista. Please just feel free to take it from here.
Hello, everyone. I almost said good morning to you all, but then I realized it's not actually morning where you're at. My name is Krista Nielsen. I am a social worker full-time, and then I work as a paid on-call firefighter. I live in Minnesota, which is kind of the northern part of the United States. So it's really, really cold here right now. So I'm a little jealous of all of you living in your nice, warm environment. Yes, I really appreciated Jose's message about making sure that you are reaching out to people and talking about any bad calls that you have. I just kind of wanted to start with that. Thank you, Jose, for bringing that up. My training is, again, in social work, and mental health is really important to me. I actually visited Kenya with Africa Fire Mission just this past November and did several presentations on firefighter mental health. So I am speaking to you today not about mental health. I'm speaking to you today about BAs, or breathing apparatus. But firefighter mental health is very important to me and near and dear to my heart. So just kind of a push for what Jose was speaking about. So, but thank you again all for being here. I see quite a few folks have joined, which is wonderful. I'm going to go ahead and get started with my presentation here. So give me just one moment. Here we go. And I'm hoping you all can see my screen. Can you see my PowerPoint?
Yep, we see it.
Wonderful. Okay. So again, what I'm here to talk with you about today are what we call in the United States self-contained breathing apparatus, or SCBA. When I visited Kenya, I know that we referred to it as a BA, or breathing apparatus, when I was there. So I'll be referring to it as a BA for the rest of the time. But I have a few videos that actually Leah is going to be presenting to you, and you'll notice that it's referred to as SCBA here. And just so you're aware, it's kind of the same thing. Or it is the same thing, we just refer to it a little bit differently. So I'm going to be talking to you today about the importance of an SCBA. I know that not all of you have one of these, and so we're going to be talking a little bit towards the end about what you can do to make sure that leaders around you are aware of how important this is, and hopefully help you advocate for what you need in your brigade. So, all right, I'm going to move forward here in my screen. All right, so for those who may not be aware, what is a self-contained breathing apparatus, or BA? It is a respiratory protective device that is used to prevent users, which are typically you all as firefighters, from inhaling the products of combustion that are released when you go into a fire. So some of these might include toxic gas, contaminated particulates. It might be that the air that you're breathing doesn't have enough oxygen. Could be other vapors that have been released, or any other gases that are immediately dangerous to life or health. We call that, again, here in the United States, an IDLH environment. And here we do not enter those, at least in my, where I work, we do not enter those IDLH environments without an SCBA. So this is a really, really important tool for firefighters to have to keep themselves safe, but it also allows for firefighters to do more work when there is an environment that is immediately dangerous to life or health. It allows you to be more protected and be able to support firefighting operations there. And rather than, unfortunately, sharing the video, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of review some of the basic parts of an SCBA, just so as we're talking about it, you are familiar with some of the terminology that I am using today. So you can see here, this is the cylinder. That cylinder contains compressed air, and that is the air that firefighters are breathing when they're going into an environment that is dangerous to life and safety. And so that is where the air is contained. In our my department or my brigade, we have bottles that are able to last for 45 minutes, and we fill that to 4,500 PSI. And that is the amount of pressure that is in the cylinder that allows us to be able to breathe fresh air for technically up to 45 minutes, although with the hard work that, as you all know, you're doing in the fire service, it doesn't always last quite as long. The cylinder is carried here in the harness, and this is something that we wear the straps here over our shoulders, and then the bottom part here goes around our waist. That allows the weight to kind of be distributed, and so even though it weighs, gosh, I think about 25 to 30 pounds, it still allows us to carry that on our backs pretty effortlessly. There are two different regulators that are included in the Scba. There is the first stage regulator, which is down here. And that allows for the air, I can't see where it is on here, but that allows for the air to be, for us to be able to breathe it. So again, in the cylinder, it is compressed air. And then when it goes through the first stage regulator and this second stage regulator here, that allows it to be air that we can breathe. Another really, really important part of the Scba is the face mask here. And so here is, it's kind of hard to see, but it's, you can see through it. And then back here kind of goes on the back of our heads, and then there are some straps. So once you get this on your head, you can tie the straps. It keeps the face shield tight to our face. And again, allows for us to breathe in fresh air without the contaminants getting through the mask. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of familiarity with an Scba if you're not familiar with the different components here. And again, I apologize for that video not being available. We'll work on that. So, all right. So moving forward, I wanted to talk with you all a little bit about how many of you have Scbas here. I see there's 27 participants on the line. If you can raise your hand and show me how many of you use Scbas in your brigade. Let's see. I think 3 people have raised their hands. 4, 5. Okay, that's great. Okay. So I see 6 people have raised their hands, and I don't know if that means that the remainder of you do not. And again, this presentation is meant for people who both have the who have BAs and who do not. So I see a couple more people raising their hands, which is great. Out of the people that raised your hand, how many of you would say that your BAs are able to be used every time you go into a fire? Are they maintained? Keep your hand up if they're well maintained so that you can use them when you go into a fire. Or if you sometimes can't use them, if you could lower your hand. Okay, so it seems like the people who have their hands raised are able to use their, okay, so a few people dropped down. So that was my experience when I was in Kenya, that there were some individuals who had BAs and who used them really regularly. Unfortunately, one of the areas that was really challenging for people was being able to maintain their Scbas. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today, and what kinds of things are important when you are not only using the BA, but what do you need to do to keep them in working order so that they can be available? So for those of you who, so if everybody could lower their hands, that would be great. For those of you who raised your hand when I asked how many of you had a BA, I'm wondering if you can talk to us about when you know that it's time for your crew to start using your BA. At what point do you say, okay, this environment is not safe, I need to put on my BA? If you can raise your hand, that would be helpful at this point if you're interested in sharing your experience. I see, okay, Ruben had his hand up for a while. Ruben, if you could unmute yourself and tell us a little bit about your experience and when you know it's time for your crew to start using the BAs.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Ruben. I hope you can hear me.
Yep, can hear you.
Yeah, I'm from Kenya, and I'm an airport firefighter. Every time we are responding to any emergency that involves whose environment is very toxic. For example, when we are dealing with the structural fires, where we have to get into a house to fight fires and save people, that environment is not very conducive. So we make sure that we have our breathing apparatus on, or every time we need to rescue people from an aircraft which is on fire and the environment is toxic, that's another incidents where we need to, or we are required to wear breathing apparatus.
Great.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember working with some folks from Airport Fire when I was out there, and I recall that was one area where there was a little bit more consistent use of the BA. So thank you, Ruben, for sharing. I see Richard has his hand up as well. Richard, if you could unmute yourself and tell us a little bit about when your brigade knows it's time to start using your Scba.
Good evening, everyone. Hopefully you're doing well. My name is Richard from Your Ppe County. Okay, most of the time we always have this challenge of using the BAs because the issue is about refilling them. Refilling the BA has turned to be an issue around most of the time around Kenya, because if you look at the compressors that are available, we have very few. I think they are around 4 all over the country. Mm-hmm. So most of the time you find by the end of the day, unless like me personally, I always do my effort. I have like 2 cylinders on my, I have one, I own 2 cylinders, mine personal, and I use them. I always use them. But now the challenge we always have is refilling. But most of the occasions, we always try to tell firefighters to use BAs, structural fire. Like for example, another example is when we're going for rescue. Sometimes we have pit rescues or confined area rescues. Those places, for me, I have to use a BA, because what I do, I have mine personal, which I use. It has 2 cylinders. So I always make sure they are refilled most of each and every time. Although it's a bit expensive, it's around 2,000 to refill per each. So for the 2 BAs, it's around 4,000. So it's much expensive. Mm-hmm. With the use of BA, for me, I have trained with them for the longest time, and that's why I always find them very, very effective when it comes to using them. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Richard, would you say that there are times when you know that you probably should use your BA, but you're not able to because you didn't have the availability of a compressor?
Yeah, there is always, sometimes it happens, like, you know, like this is like such an environment. Like, for example, the last year we had a lot of school fires. Some school were being, the kids were burning their dormitories, and the fire, there are a lot of things. If you look at the example of the mattresses that were burning, the boxes, the clothing, they produce a lot of smoke, and that smoke is very poisonous. So I always find myself, I have to use the BA, but most of the time I find myself, my cylinders are empty. I don't have the availability of the compressor is not locally available that I can rush refuel my BM. So I end up either getting into fire, just like a free mask, or using what do you call the face mask only.
Oh, okay.
Because I have a gas mask. I also have a gas mask with me. I have 2 of them. I bought myself 2 of them. So in times that I feel like when I notice like my cylinders are below, I can't be able to use them. Now I switch to the gas mask.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for sharing. And again, that was one thing that we noticed when we were in Kenya, is that there were several departments that had BAs but did not have the tools to be able to maintain them. And while it's great that the departments have BAs, they are not very effective if you're not able to fill them or to maintain them. And so that is being able to talk to your leaders about why it's just as important to be able to maintain them as it is to have them is really important. So thank you for sharing, Richard. I appreciate it. Okay, I thought I saw somebody else with their hand up, but maybe they put that down, which is just fine. We can move on to the next slide. Oh, Mayoa. I don't know. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Mayoa. Did you have a comment about when you know it's time for your crew to start using your BA? And I do see you on mute. So if you are talking, I might not be able to hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay, there's Mayowa from Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, the Fire and Safety Department. Can you hear me now?
Here. Yep, we can hear you. Yes.
Okay, so you know, we are listening carefully to all the person that spoke about the use of beer. You know, the BA, you don't just have the choice than to use it in the environment that is irrespirable to the heart. And most of the fire, you know, we attended to the combustible material, the all smoke are so dangerous to the heart, like your lungs, your liver are not so you need a protective equipment to use. So one of the challenges we have with this BA is the size. As you rightly said when you started the lecture about the capacity of the BA, then you can also use it between 30 to 35 minutes. Under that, the content, you have to be careful because you must have exhausted your working duration. You know, you have food duration, we have working duration and safety margin. And as a trained aircraft firefighter, you must not exceed your safety margin. So our safety margin started from 10 minutes. So that means the capacity of the BA is 35 minutes, 25 minutes, you got out of that place. Leaving your safety margin of 10% to get you out. You are in the aircraft, maybe you are fighting aircraft fire or fighting the structural fire, wherever they are, and you know you go with your PA. For instance, now you have the capacity of 35 minutes and your own you know individual have different consumption rates. So that one is also the challenge, that if you are going with your peers, if my consumption is higher than my peer, immediately I'm going closer to my safety margin, irrespective of the content of the cylinder of my partner. The two of us have to live the same together. So the size is one of the major challenges And I hear my friend from the other country is talking about the refilling. You know, before now, there is a challenges with refilling, but thank God with our partner with China, they make some equipment. It's not that really expensive that you can recharge your BA with. Like we just got many of them from we just acquired some of them from so for some of our airport not too long. It's just a portable equipment that you can fill your BA with. It's not that so expensive. It's not something that a station or the fire brigade or something cannot acquire. And the procedure of filling is not that cool, so it's just simple of connecting like 2-3 BAs at a time. You fill it on a few minutes, you are done with it. So, but basically in Africa is the size, the content, the size of the BA. So it's not, you can't use it for a longer period of time. And if that is the case, that means you have to have a lot number of the BA or you have the personnel. But like we do now, if we have different people that have, we call them entry control officer, different set of people that enter the scene. Immediately this group, they are all exhausted, they come out, the another group enter to continue fighting fire. Continuously like that until you exhaust your stuff. So that's what we do. So basically just the size of the cylinder, you understand? So
yeah,
that's it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing. And you brought up a really important point that it's important to be paying attention to how much air is left in your bottle. One of the things that that my department does is we look at how much air is in our bottle, and then we say 1/3. So part of that bottle is to be used for firefighting. So it's to be used to take care of the people in our community who need help. The second third of the bottle is for us. And so the second third of once we've gone through a third of our bottle, what's called a low air alarm will go off. And that tells us that our bottle's starting to get low. And so at that point, we have to start thinking about what is important to keep ourselves healthy and safe, and start thinking about my safety could be in jeopardy if I don't know where my exits are, if I don't have a clear path to be able to remove myself from this situation. And then we talk about that the last half of it is for our families. So if we are not able to exit a structure and our air is too low, we run the risk of extreme harm or even death. And so we look at that last third of the bottle as for our families. So we make sure that we don't get too dependent upon our BAs, because if that runs out, then we're not going to be able to keep ourselves safe for ourselves and for our family. Another important thing to note is several of you brought up the importance of wearing your BA when you go into an environment where there's a lot of fire, a lot of smoke, and that is very important. Another thing to keep in mind is when you're doing overhaul. So if you are taking down a wall or pulling ceilings, doing things like that, if you have the ability to keep your bottles filled regularly, keep your BA on. Those gases, those contaminants are still being released as we are pulling the ceiling down or breaking down the walls to make sure that the fire hasn't spread. So that's another thing to keep in mind, is that if you have the ability to refill your BA, keep that on until you've completed your tasks of overhaul. So thank you all for sharing your stories. I appreciate it. So the next slide that I'm showing here, we're going to talk a little bit about what you need to do in order to maintain your BAs. So as you saw, there were some of you who had your BAs, and then when I asked if you had the equipment that you needed in order to maintain it and use it every time you know that you should use it, there were people who put their hands down. And so what we're going to talk about now is what can you do in order to keep your BA working and ready? What kind of equipment do you need in order to maintain that? And then what kind of skills are needed in order to maintain your BA? So for those of you who have a BA, if you could raise your hand and let us know if you do regular inspections. Okay. I see one person's raised his hand. That's good. And it's okay if you don't do them. I hope that after today, this is some information that you can take back to your brigades and talk about the importance, not just of having the BA, having the equipment, but making sure that you're doing inspections and understanding how they work and what things are maybe not working right. And so as far as doing inspections, it's important to do them on a regular basis. They should be inspected every time they're used, and they should be inspected monthly as well. And so it's important, in addition to that, that the people in your brigade are trained on what to look for to identify if their BA is not working. And so it doesn't do a whole lot of good to do an inspection if you don't really know what you're looking for. So if you have somebody in your brigade who really is knowledgeable about BAs and can go back to your department and do some training, that's great. There's also a lot of YouTube videos that unfortunately I'm not able to get sound on today. But I actually, this PowerPoint will be available after the training today, and there are some links in there. So there will be some more information for you to be able to take back to your brigade and share what it looks like to complete an inspection on your BA. So again, important for you all to know how to keep your BA in working order and what it looks like if it's not in working order. It's important to do preventative maintenance on the Scba on an annual basis. So again, having somebody who's knowledgeable about a BA, kind of take their knowledge and review and make sure that there aren't any more significant issues going on. It's also important that you are keeping your BAs in a place where they're going to be able to be maintained for a long time. So first of all, you want to keep them in a place that's easily accessible, right? You don't want to have to be pulling up to a scene and running around and trying to find where's my BA, where is it kept, or having to get into some really complicated compartments in your engine in order to find it. They should be stored, though, in a location that will protect them from weather, from getting contaminated. So you wouldn't necessarily want to store them outside where they could be exposed to rain and to extreme heat and things like that. So making sure that you're storing them in the proper location. For my next slide, so again, I do have a video. There's no sound to it, but I'm going to play the video anyway. And I'm just going to talk with you a little bit about what is going on as the video is playing. And this is actually a video from my department. And so this is one of my chiefs going through an Scba check. So this is kind of our procedure and what we do each month at our department, and then what we do every time our our BAs are used. Okay, so again, this is my fire chief, whose name is Josh. So as you can see, he's got the Scba in front of him. So what we'll do is we'll actually set it like on a table or something like that, where we can see the whole piece of equipment and be reviewing all of the different components of it. So he's showing you again, kind of walking you through this, he's showing you everything. So the first thing that we do is we're looking at the straps. So we're making sure that they're not worn, that there's not pieces that look like they might be coming apart. We're also looking at the harness, making sure that there aren't any cracks. The straps should always be pulled as loose as possible, so that whoever is going to be using that Scba is going to be able to access it and get it on quickly. You're also looking at the different, the various pressures on there. So you can see he's got his hand on the pressure gauge. So he's going to be looking at that to make sure that that is matching up with the other, with the analog pressure readings. He did turn on the bottle. So that's the first step, or that's the second step after inspecting the unit itself, is turning on the bottle. Again, looking at the pressure to be sure that the pressure that he's pointing at now matches up with the pressure that is reflected in the pass device, which is what he just picked up now. So he's making sure that that is the same as the other two areas within a couple of 100 PSI. So one sign that something is not quite right is if those pressure gauges are really different from each other. So that would be a sign that you would want to maybe check into this and see what's going on, why they're not reading correctly. As you can see, there's some red buttons going off. Now, I don't know if you saw that, but the first thing that he's doing is he's letting it go into the first alarm mode. The first alarm mode is just something that it kicks in if, for example, a firefighter is not moving. So if you haven't been moving in our department, it's 20 seconds, the alarm goes off. We can shake the pass device and then that alarm will stop beeping at us. The other part of the inspection is letting the Scba go through the full alarm mode. So it goes through the first alarm, which indicates that so you can see the red lights are blinking. And then after 40 seconds, then it goes into the full alarm. And that's something, if you're shaking the pass device, it's not going to go off. And the purpose of that is if, for example, I'm on a scene and all of a sudden I go unconscious, that alarm is going to go off, and that will help my other firefighters find me and hopefully be able to locate me. You may have seen, I don't know if you were able to see it, but he did take off the connections, the covers for the buddy breathers and the universal RIC connections to make sure that those were clean and didn't have any, pieces of sand or anything like that could impact the ability to connect to another firefighter's Scba if needed. And then what he's going to do after it goes through the second alarm is he is going to then turn off the bottle, and he is going to open the regulator, and he's going to stop, he's going to open the regulator, let the air out. What's going to happen then is you'll hear the low alarm or the low air alarm go off. And so for us, that's a bell that will go off, and that tells us that the low air alarm is working. So if I am again in a fire scene and my air is getting low, that tells me that if I'm wearing that pack, it's going to go off like it should. So again, I am going to go back to sharing my screen. And again, that video with sound is included in the PowerPoint, so you should be able to use that. But again, going through this list, this is kind of a summary of what you just saw. Again, it should be done after each use as well as monthly. You're checking for any damage to the pack, straps, harness, bottle, valves, plate, checking the pressure, make sure the straps are extended. And then here's the process. So turning the pack back on, checking the gauges. Another part I didn't mention is making sure that the battery is adequately charged, making sure that the covers on the universal RIC connection and buddy breathing are fitting correctly, allowing it to go through the full alarm mode, activating the pass device, and then As you turn off the bottle, open up the bypass to make sure that the alarm is in working order. So again, hopefully this is something that you can take back with you if you're not doing monthly inspections on your BA, even if your BAs are not always in the order that they need to be in. This is still a good habit to get your brigade into doing on a regular basis. My hope for you guys is that we'll continue to get more of you using BAs, and the more that you can get consistent with doing this, even if your BAs aren't always able to be charged as often as we'd like, getting into that habit is important. And I did put this question out there. I think we are going to run out of time, so I'm not going to go into getting comments from you all. But again, I'm going to encourage you to go back to your brigades and talk to them about doing the inspections and really take a look at how often are we doing it, and do we need to change our practice to keep our BAs in working order. All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about the dangers of not using a BA and what happens to you if you are in a scene and you're not using them. And so as I mentioned earlier, one of the huge benefits of using a BA is that it helps you from inhaling the products of combustion that are released when there is a fire. And so, of course, there is increased exposure to contaminated air if you're not able to use a BA. For many years, even here in the United States, it was rare for our firefighters to put on their BA. They would put it on for just a little bit and then take it off right away. And so they were taking in those vapors, those toxic gases, and they were finding that our firefighters were getting really sick. They were getting some very serious lung issues. Many firefighters were diagnosed with cancer. And so again, the BA is designed to protect firefighters from the products in the air that make us sick, and then allow us to keep doing this job for a long time and be there for our families as well. So on each incident, again, during the fire itself, as well as after the fire, you can be exposed to those chemicals and vapors. It's not only what you breathe in, but it's also what your skin is exposed to. And I'm actually going to talk in a couple of weeks about proper PPE. So in addition to using a BA, it's going to be important to make sure that all of your skin is covered as well, because all of those products can kind of soak into your skin and also make you sick. So some of the products that are released in the air during a fire include carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, hydrocarbons, and water vapor, which can all, again, impact health. They did a study here that indicated that firefighters have a 9% increase in being diagnosed with cancers and a 14% increase in cancer deaths. So not only did they have cancer more often than the average person, but they more frequently would die because of cancer. And so again, we do this job because we love it. We all have friends and families that we go home to, and so the BA is designed to help keep us safe and healthy for a long time. So we'll talk a little bit about signs of smoke inhalation injury. Again, I know many of you are not able to use a BA either at all, or you're not able to use it as often as you know you should. And so we're going to just talk a little bit about what you need to look for if you are not able to use a BA, and maybe you've been on a scene, if either yourself or another one of your brigade members may be experiencing some signs of smoke inhalation injury. And again, the #1 cause of death related to fires is smoke inhalation. So this is both for community members who have been in a fire as well as firefighters. The symptoms of acute smoke injury include cough, shortness of breath, hoarseness, headache. You might notice that eye color or maybe skin color might change, and then mental status changes. So they just might behave differently than they normally do. There are long-term effects of smoke exposure as well, and some of the signs that you might notice is a persistent cough, so a cough that just doesn't go away. You might notice that you're short of breath, even though you haven't been working as hard as you normally would. Another symptom is just your voice is really hoarse. So if you start noticing some of these symptoms, it's important to kind of pay attention to them. The earlier that you can identify them will have a positive impact on your health overall. So what can you do to try to minimize the dangers of smoke inhalation? So of course, we get to a scene and we see a building that is involved, and maybe it's a residential structure, and we're worried about people being inside. Of course, we all want to go in and help them. There are some things that we can do. Of course, if we go inside a structure, it's going to impact our health and could potentially expose us to smoke. So there's some things that you can do. So for example, just doing a sweep inside the door, even keeping your own face outside the door and kind of sweeping in and seeing if you feel anything with your legs. Many victims are found, I believe it's within like 3 feet, I think it's 3 to 4 feet of an exit. And so oftentimes that is where you will find people if you are hoping to complete a rescue. And so trying to do just a little sweep, even if you have a tool as well. So if you do, if it feels like the environment is safe enough where you can poke your head in, even having a tool and being able to reach out will increase your reach and allow you to go in a little further while also protecting you from breathing in the products of combustion as much. Getting low, so you probably all just do this naturally and know this, but of course the air is cleanest nearest the floor, so crawling and getting as low as you can. Some of you, I believe, mentioned that you have some other masks besides BAs, and so making sure to use those, or if you have to, breathing through wet towels or articles of clothing, just putting some sort of barrier around you to try to minimize your exposures. After you've been exposed in a fire or a structure where you are going to be contaminated, one of our kind of phrases around here is shower within the hour. So try to get all of those contaminants off of your skin as quickly as possible, making sure to focus on your whole body, but really the neck, your abdomen, and then your upper legs. That's where you have the large arteries that carry blood all around your body. And so really want to make sure that you're getting any contaminants off those part of your skin. Remove all of your PPE, and that includes your Scba. So in my department, we not only wash our PPE after every exposure, but we also wash our BAs off, including putting a decontaminant on there, scrubbing it, getting all of those particles off. If you don't have a decontaminant specific, anything specific to decontaminate yourself, you can also use dish soap. That is another somewhat inexpensive option for cleaning your PPE and cleaning your BAs. And then keeping your PPE and your BAs in a separate location when you return to the fire station. So again, here in my department, we bring everything back. We remove our PPE, we remove our BAs. Everything that we've worn within the fire is put in a different vehicle, and then we go back to the station and decontaminate it. So these are different steps that you can take if you, excuse me, are not able to use your BA as often as you'd like, or maybe you don't have BAs at all, to try to minimize your risks if you are having to go into a scene without those pieces of equipment. So once again, what can you do to advocate for your department? So I've presented some really, some hopefully helpful information for you today. Making sure that you go back to your brigades, talk to other people that you work with about the importance of this, and then your whole brigade as much as possible. Talk to your leaders, talk to the leaders within your department, talk to your government leaders. If you don't know who your government leaders are, how can you find out? So talking to other people around you, who are the people that we need to talk about how important this is, making sure that you understand this information. Help your leaders understand the importance of every single firefighter having a BA. So every person who's going to go into a scene having one, but not only do they have a BA, but they have the right tools that they need in order to keep them in working order. So we not only need a BA, but we also need a compressor that works to fill them. We also need to have access to somebody who can help us if there are some problems with them so that we can get them repaired. Doesn't do you a whole lot of good to have a BA that you can't use. Talking to your leaders about how this equipment keeps you safe. So what they, using the information here, using other information that you know, and really going into detail about why do we need this? Well, how does this help me? How does this help my community? How will this help me be a better firefighter? How will this help my community learn to trust me and to trust the work that I do? Also understanding how much do BAs cost? So what is the investment that your brigade is going to have to make? What is the cost of each firefighter having a BA? And then again, talking with them about the importance of budgeting for the cost of this for every person that's going to be going into a scene. So again, going back to your brigades, talking to everybody, getting people on the same page, and the more that you can all be an advocate for this, the more power you have to make a positive change. So that is the end of my my presentation. I believe we're pretty much at time here. So I'm gonna, I guess, hand it back to Jose or Leah and have them wrap it up.
Yes,
Thank you all
so
very
much.
much. I appreciate your time and I appreciate your participation today. So have a great rest of your day and enjoy tea time. I still have some of my Kenyan tea, so maybe I'll go have some as well and virtually have some tea time with you all.
Thank you so much, Krista, and thank you for your training today. I know that I personally learned a lot about BAs and just their importance, a lot of things that I didn't know, so thank you for that. And thank you all for participating. I ask you guys just to fill out our surveys that we send out, that we can have a better training in the future. You know, maybe work out some of those technology kinks that we're trying to learn. But I also invite you guys all back for next week. We're going to have Firefighter Brad, and he's going to be teaching us about some hazmat and other basic confinement techniques. So we're super excited about that. But I'm going to hand it over to Jose now, like we said, for tea time. So I invite you guys all to stay for that. It's a really great time. So Jose, I'm going to end our recording and I'm going to pass it to you.